Hello guys, so today's topic of discussion is related to the cell cycle regulation. Basically I'm going to talk about the cell cycle control system and more specifically the molecular breaks in the cell cycle control system, and also I'm going to discuss about the what do you call it, cyclins and CDK, right? This is going to be a short video and this video is going to have many parts. Okay, so starting, the cell cycle regulation basically is done by regulatory proteins, right? And these are known as basically the cell cycle control system. Okay, they ensure that all the phases in the cell cycle is G1, S, G2 and M checkpoints, right? All the phases and the checkpoints in the cell cycle are done in a correct way, right? So there is no mutated DNA or damaged DNA that passes, right? So to prevent all the mutation, accumulation of mutation, these checkpoints are present, right? So all the criteria for passing the checkpoints are fulfilled. Okay, so that is why the cell cycle regulation occurs, and that is why there are control systems, right? Now coming to the what we call is molecular breaks, right? And this is a part of the control system only. So molecular breaks, basically we know that the cell cycle has two important checkpoints. One of the checkpoint is G1 to S, right? One of the checkpoints is G1 to S, another one is G2 to M, right? So I'm going to discuss in more details about these checkpoints in some other video, but in this video I'm just going to talk about few things, right? And mainly the cyclin and CDK system. Okay, so in you have to remember this point that activation, right? Activation occurs via phosphorylation, right? So basically if we phosphorylate something, a protein suppose or enzyme is present, and or upon phosphorylation of this of that enzyme, it will get activated, right? And similarly there is also deactivation, right? So deactivation occurs via dephosphorylation. Okay, so please keep these points in mind. Okay, and the enzymes that are responsible that phosphorylate are known as protein kinases, and that dephosphorylate are known as protein phosphatases. Okay, now coming to the next part, the concept of cyclins and CDKs, right? The concept of cyclins and CDKs. Okay, so basically we have first, what is a cyclin, right? A cyclin is actually a non-enzymatic substance. Okay, it is not enzymatic, so its main role is basically causing partial activation of the CDKs, right? These are cyclin dependent kinases, right? Cyclin dependent kinases are present, the cyclins and CDKs, they work together. Okay, so this CDKs, right, these kinases are present constitutively. Okay, they are present but they are not active. Okay, they are present but not active. But when constitutively active, okay, but when this cyclin and CDK, right, bind to each other, this cyclin causes partial activation of the cyclin dependent kinases or CDKs. Kinases, what they will do, they will phosphorylate and cause activation. Okay, now let us understand this flow chart. Okay, so first cyclin and CDK bind, this causes partial activation, right? This is partially active. Okay, and upon this complex, cyclin CDK complex, there is action of a type of enzyme. Okay, so which converts them to cyclin CDK fully active complex. Like this enzyme that acts is known as cyclin activating kinases. Okay, so cyclin activating kinase is another enzyme that basically activates or converts the partially active form to fully active form, cyclin activated kinases, CAKs. And this cyclin CDK, which is fully active complex, now triggers the cell cycle events like transition from G1 to S phase via phosphorylation of the necessary enzymes. Like I'm going to discuss this part in some other video, what the phosphorylate, what happens. And sorry, this is not cyclin activating kinase, this is CDK activating kinases. Okay, so CDK activating kinases actually act to convert them, okay, from partially active to fully active. So let us understand this part using a diagram. Okay, so this is the CDK, right? This is a CDK, a cyclin dependent kinase, and it has a loop within it. Not necessary, I'm just adding it to the diagram, not an important information. So now cyclin that is present comes and binds, right, and forms a complex with the CDK. This is the cyclin CDK complex that I am about to draw. Okay, and this is partially active. Okay, basically this part of the enzyme, this blue colored loop that you are seeing, it has the active side. Okay, has the active side, and this part is known as a T loop. Okay, this is partially active. Now what will happen is the CDK activating kinase, right? CDK activating kinase will act upon this complex and it will cause phosphorylation in the active site. And due to this phosphorylation that occurs in the active site, this will form a fully activated cyclin CDK complex. Okay, I'm adding this phosphate here. So this the CDK activating kinase has got phosphorylation, has resulted in fully active complex, right? Fully active complex, and that's it. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss about the deactivation of this cyclin CDK complexes, right? After the cell cycle is completed, then we no longer need this, right? So we have to degrade it. So what is that mechanism I'm going to discuss here? So as you can see, this is the cyclin and CDK complex that was fully active, right, after the action of the enzyme CDK dependent kinase. Okay, now what happens is there is a process known as ubiquitination of the cyclin part. Okay, ubiquitination is a chapter of you can find it in under protein degradation in biochemistry. So ubiquitination of cyclin occurs, and this cyclin is marked, right, by these ubiquitin molecules. They mark the cyclin. Okay, just assume this random structure, right? So this cyclin part has been marked, right, and this cyclin which has been marked will be degraded in a apparatus or organelle known as proteasome, right? So what occurs is ubiquitin dependent proteolysis occurs, right? Destruction of the cyclin occurs and inactivation of the cyclin CDK complex. So only the CDK remains, which is now inactive. And so that is all for this video. So if you guys like this video, please do share it and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like the video also, and see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.